All right. So, excuse me. You are Ashley Hines, DOC 607869. You're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 25-year sentence for a conviction vehicular homicide. You were sentenced in January of 2017. Your parole eligibility date is January 6, 2022. You have an adjusted good time date, July 12th, 2023, with your full term date, October 7, 2040. Does that all sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when I review your record, I noticed, I'm looking at your transfers around the DOC, and I see you were at Cedarwood Manor in July of 2019, and then you moved to Calcasieu. And the note says disciplinary. Did you get a write-up when you were at Cedarwood?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that for?
It was for getting into it with a supervisor.
A fight?
No,
okay.
not a fight.
Okay.
We just had words exchanged. My supervisor was another offender with Cedarwood. So that's what happened there.
Okay. And then I see another notation of disciplinary action in January of 2020, when you were moved from Calcasieu to LTCW.
Oh, LCIW, that's when I went to court from that report.
So that's when you went to DB court. What happened with that report in DB court?
I think they gave me 3 days self-confinement, suspended, and put me on probation for 30 days.
Okay. Any write-up since then?
I think that. No, ma'am.
Okay. So when I look at the information that was provided to us concerning the crime and your criminal history, you've had quite a few arrests. You have a history of operating a vehicle under the influence. I mean, you had quite a few arrests. I counted at least 15. I see that many of them were non-pros. And when this incident happened, the record indicates that you said you were on the way to rehab when it happened. What kind of rehab?
Rayville recovery in Rayville.
And so, but that you had taken a bunch of pills before you were. So tell me why.
At that time in my life, I was lost. I was depressed. So much was going on at once, and I didn't use my better judgment to drive a vehicle.
So what you did, so why all the pills? Because there was quite a combination of pills.
I'm an addict.
What were you taking that for? Okay.
Anxiety.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, I'm concerned when I look at the history of driving. You say that's well, look what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Franklin Jacobs.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could speak to his family, which you can't, what would you say?
That I'm very remorseful for what happened. I didn't mean for it to happen.
So what have you done to ensure that's not going to happen again?
I've taken every opportunity I've been offered since I've been incarcerated. I have a 16-year-old daughter. I want to do better for myself and for her, because she deserves it.
Tell us about the programs.
I've been in many programs.
So tell us which one you think has helped you the most.
Celebrate
And
recovery.
why?
Celebrate
And
recovery.
why is that?
It makes you look way down deep into your life and what you've done to others. And it helps you learn how to take accountability for what you've done. And it also gets to the root of why I used pills.
So had you ever, other than the rehab you say you were on your way to at the time of this accident, have you ever had any substance abuse treatment on the street?
Yes, ma'am.
So what makes this Celebrate Recovery different from those times?
Well, I've never done it before, and the steps with AA, that really helps me, having a sponsor.
And you've never done AA before?
Yes, I have, but I didn't take it serious.
Mm-hmm. So when you released or completed whatever the rehab programs that you did do on the street, did they give you a plan on how to be successful, and did you follow it? Like an aftercare plan?
Yes. Oh, no aftercare.
Which could be, I mean, by aftercare, I mean, what steps did you need to take to stay clean and sober? Not necessarily another treatment program.
Well, first and foremost, not being around people who took the medicine or places that would make me want to use.
People, places, and things.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So, was it just the pills, or did you drink also?
Every now and then I drink, but it was never a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been.
So, as you can imagine, there's quite a lot of opposition to an early release for you.
Yes, ma'am.
From the DA's office, from the sheriff's office in Caddo, from the Shreveport police chief, and from the victim's family.
Yes, ma'am.
You just need to be aware of that. I don't have any other questions. I'll sit back and listen to my colleagues. Mr. Roche, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Nelson. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ashley. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Thank you for asking. I hate to go back over your disciplinary, but have you ever been housed at Louisiana Transition Center for Women?
Is that the same thing as Cedarwood?
No.
No.
On January 7th, 2020, at Louisiana Transition Center for Women, which I think is in North Louisiana, you had a disciplinary write-up.
What?
I think she explained earlier, Mr. Roche, she was sent to that facility to go to DB court.
Oh, okay.
From the write-up that she got in Calcasieu.
Okay, okay. So that's the same one. Okay. And what did you say about the one that you received at Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women? Is that the one with the supervisor?
Yes, sir.
And what was the nature of that argument?
Basically, it was with a fellow offender, and the way they were running stuff at the hotel was I wasn't up for participating.
Okay.
They were.
So it was aggravated work offense.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hines, and you're aware that Mr. Franklin Jacobs was deceased, but were you aware that he was the only financial means of support for that family? That family, not only did you kill the individual, you actually killed the entire family. The wife, had never worked before. She was a housewife. She was a mother. The children didn't get an education because they had to go to work to help their mother. So basically, you ruined the entire family. And I think you need to know that because they are adamantly opposed to any relief for you simply because after that, it was a downward spiral and the family just went, had no financial means of support. I don't think the family is still emotionally, mentally, and financially affected by this crime. So why should this panel give you any relief this morning?
I think I've done everything I can and taken every opportunity to better myself with my education and the programs I've been in for drug addiction. I'm very remorseful for what I did. And if I could take it back, I would. I apologize that I hurt them and caused them so much pain and suffering. I just hope one day they can forgive me.
As I calculated, you have not even served 25% of your sentence.
Yes, sir.
And you've had an extensive criminal history dating back 25 years. Your first arrest was in 1996. And you have 9 convictions. 2 of those are felony convictions since 1996. You've been on supervision and you've been revoked at least once because you did not attend classes. You failed to make any driving improvements classes, and you failed to perform community service as ordered by the court. So what's different this time?
Now I feel like I have, been in a structured environment, and I've learned ways to live now sober through the classes. I want to do better. I want to be a better person. I want to be a good mom. I want the chance, to be a role model for her.
But you had
And I know I can do it.
You had 2 DWIs prior to this vehicular homicide. You had a chance on 2 occasions to set yourself straight, and you didn't, and you ended up with the death of an individual on your hands. And I just worry about the public safety. I worry about you behind the wheel taking pills and drinking alcohol.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Ms. Wise?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I do want to commend you for your excellent programs. As you said, I just want to state it for the record, you had over 500 hours of programs. You earned your high set in 2017, and you earned an associate's degree in 2019. What was your associate degree in?
Associate of Arts.
And what?
My minor was sociology.
Okay, all right. I just want to commend you for that. That's some good work. That really is some good work. But
I'm also enrolled in cosmetology right now.
Oh, great. I saw that when you said your work plan. I was wondering how that was going to work out, how you was going to get an associate degree and then work in okay. You like hair. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So define for me remorse in your own words. What does remorse mean? You use that word a lot. I'm just wondering, what does it mean? Define it in your own words.
remorse means to me that I feel horrible about what happened.
Mhm.
And I've tried to empathize with the family,
Mhm.
and put myself in their shoes and try to somehow, see where they're coming from.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you for answering my
Thank
question.
you.
Warden Butte, good morning. Do you have anything to add?
Morning. Yes, just the fact of things that you've already talked about. She's very active in programming and education, and that's my spiel.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll hear now from the folks who have indicated they'd like to speak, and we'll start with Ms. Nicole. You have to unmute your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I'm Nicole Shatania. I have known Ashley through childhood, being before addiction, during addiction, and now what I consider after. I'm the owner of the Bethesda Sober House Living. I'm a recovered addict. I'm also a third-time convicted felon, and I took very serious steps to become successful. I have watched Ashley grow, and I get emotional because I love her very much. And I know that the crime, the severity of it, I understand. But she has kept in touch with me the whole entire time, through recovery, with plans to how to be a good mother and to be successful. I do believe she deserves a chance on the street and that she has learned her lesson. I'm married to a substance abuse counselor, and I do that myself also. And I am more than willing to mentor with her and work for her. Ashley has bettered herself on a level that, unless you knew her before, I don't think anybody could understand. She's very sorry for what she's done. And I understand that a man's life was lost, and that is a tragedy. And we can't bring that back. But she does have a daughter, and that life has been affected also. And I believe that Ashley can make amends for this and be very, very successful. She also has plans to go into aesthetics, and I think she's going to do great. So that's what I have to say.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you joining us this morning. So now we'll hear from Mr. Hines.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, okay. I'll go ahead. My name is Russell. I'm the brother of Ashley, and this is her daughter, Taylor. I guess we've sat and we've talked about and looked at history and looked how things look on paper, and of course, they don't look great. But I think if you fast forward to this point, this moment, that like we've covered before, a life was lost. But the things that Ashley's done while she's been incarcerated, we talk to her on a daily basis. She's grown as a person. I just don't think that, if you go back and look at somebody's history and look at their arrest and things they've done in the past, I understand you have to look at those things, but I also understand that could hinder maybe what they've done in the present. And I think that kind of may be the case with Ashley now. I don't think just keeping someone locked up, necessarily helps a person. Just sitting back and saying, well, this happened, years ago when you were arrested back in '96, doesn't necessarily mean that you should continue to be locked up. In my mind, I guess, the things she's done while she's been incarcerated, I mean, you couldn't really ask for a better inmate. I really don't like using that word, but there's a lot of a lot of people that are locked up and incarcerated that don't take advantage of the things, and you can kind of tell that, you know, how their life is going to go when they're released. But in Ashley's case, I think that, you know, she's grown over this last 6 years, and you know, the things she's done is kind of shown, you know, what it's going to be like, you know, on her release. And so I just think that it's important for us to kind of look at, you know, the things she's done since this incident has happened. So
Thank you, sir.
yeah, thank you.
Taylor, would you like to say something to us?
Yes. So I feel like as she's been in there, she's grown so much as a person. Like she's done so much. She's taken like every opportunity she can, and I don't know. It would be really great to have my mom here. Like whenever I was younger, we were very close, and I feel like I haven't seen her in so long, and like just seeing her and hearing her voice is so great for me. And I know this isn't enough and like to convince you guys or anything, but I think she's a really great candidate for parole. Like she's done everything in her will to be better and do better. And I really think she's matured as a person. And you can always look back at somebody's past and say, oh, they've done this and done that. Like, I don't think they deserve another chance because they've messed up so many times. But like Russell said, like keeping someone locked up for so long can only do so much. And what happened was a terrible thing, but I really think she's done all that she can to become a better person, and she's really become a great person. She's really done great.
All right,
As
thank
far
you.
as-
Well
as far as-
said.
As far as remorse goes for Ashley, I've spent numerous nights with her on the phone crying about the things that have happened, and you know, it was a tragedy. But you know, some people's mistakes are just a little bit bigger than others, but nonetheless, they are mistakes. And I think that, you know, sometimes things should be forgiven, and you know, I think that Ashley just, you know, I think she deserves that. So anyway,
Thank you, sir.
but thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Ashley, this is your
Yes, ma'am.
opportunity to make a statement, and I'd like for you to include whatever your sobriety plan is, and also what kind of community service work you have done there in the prison.
Well, my plans on release is to, when I get out, I'm going to Oxford House. I'm going to go to my brother's first if I'm released, and then go to Oxford House. I've been there before, and it's a great place. Also, I want to further my education and get some training done to be an esthetician other than the cosmetology. Go to AA and NA on a regular basis. I do here also. I really love that program. You know, just be around people who lift me up and not drag me down. And just be real active.
So will you describe the community service work you've done there in the prison?
Community service work, cosmetology. We do hair for the inmates, and you know, we try to make them feel beautiful. And I really enjoy doing that.
Okay. All right. Is the board prepared to vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I suppose I'll vote first. You know, this is not about forgiveness. I heard that word used a while ago. This is about whether or not we believe it's safe for the community to release someone earlier than their release date. I'm not so sure about you, Ashley. You know, although I agree that you've done a lot of good things. I mean, you've got over 500 days of credit for your educational programs that you did. You have a low risk score. You've completed the pre-release. You've really pretty much done everything we ask offenders to do. And this is just my vote. It takes a unanimous vote in your case. You realize that, right? My vote would be to grant your parole after you do 9 months in a work release facility. I'm concerned about that write-up, but I do understand it was another offender, which would put you about at your parole date anyway. Your parole eligibility is not till January. I would ask for special conditions, some of which you've just mentioned, that you do AA meetings at least 3 times a week, that you do pursue your education, that you do some community service work. And I mean by that, speaking to at-risk youth, so people don't get in the same trap you were in. Share your experience. And that you wear a scram bracelet for a period of time as deemed necessary by your parole officer. That's my vote. Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ms. Hines, I must commend you on the progress that you've made in the last 5.5 years. You've completed Celebrate Recovery, you've completed the other substance abuse, and you've gotten an education. And you should be commended for that. But
Thank you.
you have a very long history, 9 convictions, 2 felony convictions. You had 2 DWIs early on, and you did not do what the court ordered you to do when you were on supervision. And you ended up with a vehicular homicide on your record. And my hopes as a member of this board is to get to the individual who has a problem with drugs and alcohol before that happens. In this case, we didn't get to you soon enough. Someone lost their life. And based upon that extensive criminal history, a history of drugs and alcohol, law enforcement opposition, judicial opposition, opposition from the DA's office, and adamant opposition from the family of the victim. And I still have a belief that you might be a danger to the general public. My vote is to deny your request.
Ms. Wise?
Ms. Ashley, I am pleased with what you've done, but the court gave you a 25-year sentence for a reason. And you've done well, but I am not willing to take a chance on you today. Again, I say today. What's concerning to me is that you got removed from work release. And when you had an opportunity for some freedom, and that's what happened. And the law enforcement opposition and the victim's opposition. So my vote is to deny as well. But keep doing what you're doing.
All right, Ms. Hines, you've received 1 favorable vote, 2 votes that were not favorable. So the outcome of today's proceedings is that your parole's been denied. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Warden Boutte, I think that concludes our business.
Ms. Wise asked, can you define for me remorse? And her answer, I think, says it all. I try to empathize with the family, put myself in their shoes and see where they are coming from. I try to empathize with their family. Initially, when she was asked by Ms. Vernazza, what would you say to them if you could? I'm remorseful for what happened. I didn't mean for it to happen. What's strange is when we see so many of these vehicular homicide cases is what seems to be just a complete lack of empathy. a complete lack of accountability, lack of certain like humanity. This is the man that she killed. This is the man, as Mr. O'Shea said, the caregiver for the family. When she killed him, she killed the family. Why is it that she can't have emotion in her voice when she speaks about killing him? There is something wrong with her. Not just her addiction problem, but in my opinion, she actually lacks the ability to empathize for others. There's something messed up. And we see it very often. There's one thing if someone does something horrible, they get in a car and they cause this type of death, but they at least can express genuine pain, remorse, regret. They can cry or share emotion when they talk about it. There was nothing. Nothing, in my opinion. And it didn't help when she has her supporters come up. It was, so often they are surrounded by supporters that mimic their personality. It's like birds of a feather flock together is so true with these parole hearings, in many of the times. Nicole says, Nicole, I understand a man's life was lost, and that's a tragedy, but she has a daughter. A man's life was lost? What about I understand that a father, a husband, a son, he's 55 years old, was ripped from this earth because she decided to drive. And we'll go through more of the information. It was bad. Her PSI report that we'll go through too is bad. I mean, she should never have been on the road. She should have been locked up a long time ago, and it's the system that failed. Not only that, but she had no insurance. She had a suspended license. She had fake plates on her car. I've been in 2 motorcycle accidents. I was hit head on by a woman going at 50 miles an hour. But it was a genuine mistake. She wasn't, and by miracle, I was okay. In this case, she simply drove into the wrong side of traffic and slammed into him. It wasn't even an intersection. He wasn't turning. It wasn't, she was coming out of a driveway. It wasn't the typical mistakes that can happen on motorcycles when it's hard to see. No, she just went into the wrong lane of traffic and slammed into him. And this was after a truck driver saw her pull out in front of him, swerve, and hit a divider. And she kept on going. And then she ran into him. Then you have Russell. Just because you did something doesn't mean you should be locked up. Keeping them locked up doesn't do anything. And it's like, yes, keeping them locked up protects her from killing someone else, Russell. Or how about if the family still wants her locked up, she should remain locked up, Russell. This is going in sequential order of the events. So first that accident happened, then it took 2 months for her to get arrested. In the head-on collision 2 months ago in Shreveport, where she claimed the life of 55-year-old motorist. And you see that even here in the article, they say where she claimed the life, not for what she did, a life was lost for what happened, or how she said it. I'm remorseful for what happened. I didn't mean it for what happened. How do you say that? What happened? She was driving her 2003 Kia Optima. when her vehicle reportedly crossed over the center lane and struck his 1999 Suzuki motorcycle. I used to drive a Gixxer. Then here it is. The next, Shreveport gets a 25-year for wreck that killed motorist. And now that was a surprising sentence, 25 years, right? She pled guilty. You see it here. She said that she took several Klonopin tablets while reportedly driving to rehab facility, according to the Cato District Sheriff's Office. And here's the appeal. And thank you, Richard, for providing all this in sequential order as usual. But I'm skipping ahead to the appeal where they go over the PSI report. And again, this is the system failing this family. And good for the judge to finally throw the book at her, because she pled guilty. She did not expect a 25-year sentence. However, the caveat to the 25-year sentence was the opportunity for parole after serving just 4 years. So it's kind of like a sketchy 25-year sentence. But the PSI shows February 2013 guilty plea to attempted schedule. Then she pled down from 2 counts of distribution and a host of arrests involving drug use and impaired driving, October 1997. Simple possession, March 2007, simple possession, Schedule 2. But here, the misdemeanor, operating a vehicle while intoxicated. So she's a 97, she's a 2011. And then an offense against the person, November 96, 97, March 2006, and August 2010, simple battery, 2006, second degree battery, March and September 2015, domestic abuse battery, which was either null prost or their disposition cannot be found. Again, the district court was surely aware of Hines' ongoing issues with CDS and harming people. But she's such a great person. And nothing should be held against her that she did 10 years ago, right, Russell? You know, this is literally a case of someone who just kept getting away with it. We agree Hines' effort to get herself to rehab shows a certain awareness of her problem and could count in mitigation. However, getting behind the wheel after taking 4 Klonopin with Flexerol, weaving around an 18-wheeler on the inner loop, scraping her own car on a guardrail, driving on the wrong side of Linwood, and failing to see an oncoming motorcycle all diminish her commendable pursuit of treatment. I agree. It's like she appealed to saying, I was driving to rehab. And it's like, what? Thank you for like putting this in writing. You don't get brownie points when you kill a man driving to rehab. You could have waited 10 minutes, driven yourself to rehab, and then taken your poison. You could have also called a taxi. You could have called Russell. You could have called Nicole. Man, Mr. Mirabella would have loved that someone running a sober house would say, what were the words she used? She said, I consider it post-addiction phase. Mr. Mirabella would have said, okay, well, I don't like you anymore because once an addict, always an addict. Given the gravity of offense and Hines' frequent brushes with the law for similar offenses, we cannot find the district court abuses discretion for the same reasons. In the current climate seeking non-criminal avenues for treating opioid addiction, we do not find the sentence shocks the sense of justice or serves merely to inflict pain and suffering. And I wish the DA would have shown up to speak here too. By reply brief, the state correctional shows that sentences is illegally lenient. It also makes it 3 years of imprisonment without benefit instead of at least 5, although it was only 3 years. For an offender with a prior DWI conviction and admits the court's approved substance abuse program. Both requires under LA and state. And they confirm the conviction. But here's where they again stated the facts. Shortly after 3 p.m. on August 18, 2015, Hines was driving her 2003 Kia Optima north in the inside southbound Linwood Avenue near the intersection of West 83rd. She collided head-on with a Suzuki motorcycle that was riding south properly in the inside lane. Police responded to the major crash and found the cyclist, 55-year-old Franklin, lying on the ground unconscious and with massive injuries. He was taken to University Health, where doctors were unable to restore his consciousness. Several days later, they took him off life support. Hines told an officer at the scene that she did not know what happened. The motorcycle came out of nowhere and appeared in front of her car. What was I to do? She also said she was on her way to rehab and had taken 4 Klonopin, and a tranquilizer. The officer felt that her condition contributed to the accident. He also found that she had no insurance or valid driver's license and that the Kia had switched tags. A police corporal officer gave her Miranda rights, and she admitted to have taken the Klonopin in the patrol car while talking to the officer and while submitting to a blood test. Officers later talked to witnesses who had seen her driving erratically just before the accident, swerving around an 18-wheeler on the inner loop and striking a cement guardrail. Hines' toxicology report was positive not only for Klonopin and for Flexeril, but also for Xanax minor tranquilizers. Also for benzodiazepines and Xanax. Tramadol and opioid pain medication. I mean, she was on a lot of stuff. And, the list goes on. And buprenorphine, a drug for treating opioid addiction. Oh, okay. All Schedule 3s. The state charged Hines by bill of information with vehicular homicide. She initially pled not guilty, but on March 2nd, 2016, she appeared before the district court, withdrew her plea, and pled guilty as charged. There was no agreement as to sentence. See, sometimes the DAs, they play ball properly. But when it comes to a child, they don't. But at least in this case, after it was too late, after a life was taken, after people were disgusted, they did play the game correctly. But, it's in their best interest at this time to do that, isn't it? At the hearing, Hines testified that she was 36 years old, had completed 11th grade, and discussed the charge with her attorney and understood the nature of the proceedings. The court advised her of her rights, and the prosecutor gave a brief statement of facts, which Hines confirmed was true. At sentencing in January 2017, the court acknowledged letters from the victim's family members asking that Hines receive the maximum sentence. Hines apologized to the family members who were present in the courtroom. The court noted Hines' criminal history, disclosed the PSI with prior convictions for hit and run, drug offense, and DWI. Did we talk about that hit and run before? The court recognized Hines' expression of remorse, but found that she acted. You see, they recognized her expression. They didn't, it was just an expression. I can imagine it wasn't much more. Maybe she was crying for herself when she said sorry, but I'm not convinced that she knows how to feel remorse for someone else. But found that she acted under the influence of narcotics and the crime was serious. The court sentenced her to 25 years of hard labor within 3 years without parole, suspension of sentence. And maybe that's the maximum for legislation allowed for this type of thing. Keep in mind, and the point is, she got work release and got fired from it. Like, maybe Ms. Renazza only said parole because she knew others would deny her. I don't know, but there is nothing that would say parole on this case, and it just disgusts me. There are certain people that just don't seem to have redeeming factors, and I think she's one of them. And I don't know. It's another thing. It's funny. I just got my life insurance. I just got a letter. I need to re-up it. And seeing this case reminded me to go make sure I do that. And I know it becomes more and more and more expensive as you get older. And sometimes people can't afford it. But it is, when you see cases like this, it reminds one, especially if you're riding a motorcycle, how important it is. I'm lucky to be alive. Like I said, I've been in 2 accidents. One on a bridge in middle of rush hour. I could have flown off the bridge. I could have been run over, and another where it was a head-on collision, and it's terrifying. But when a woman just jumps out, goes into your lane because she decided to get all hopped up, and there's nothing you can do about it. She's a danger. It's just a terrifying thing to think about, but there you have it. And with that, I'll let you go.
712-795, your second class offender. For eligibility date 9/2/2020, good time date 9/30/2021, full term date 9/3/2029, 12-year sentence, vehicular homicide. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Please answer Mr. Marabella's questions.
Morning, Mr. Chapman. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Mr. Chapman, how long have you been in prison this time?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yes, sir.
What sort of, tell me a little bit about your drinking. When did you start drinking?
Pretty young age. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana. I mean, I don't want to blame it on anything, but it's kind of a drinking culture. Been drinking.
Understand. I'm familiar with it. I lived there for a while. So tell me a little bit about what you started drinking and what age were you?
I was probably 14, 15, sneaking beer out the ice chest, you know.
How did you progress from that? How often were you drinking?
By the time I was 16, working at a little pizza joint, I was probably drinking every night after. I was still in school, high school, but I would drink every night after that, after work.
All right. You got a DWI in September of 2014 in Scott, right?
Yeah, I was arrested on it. Yes, sir.
Okay. How old were you then?
I was probably about 22.
How much were you drinking then? What was your drinking habits the day when you got arrested for DWI?
At that time, I would drink every night.
What were you drinking?
Mainly whiskey.
Okay. How about drugs? What kind of drugs, if any, were you using?
At one point, I did get bad off on lower tabs, pain pills.
Now, when you got the DWI in 2014, you got arrested, went to jail, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did you bond out?
Correct.
Were you required to take any sort of substance abuse evaluation, do any kind of treatment at that point?
No, sir. The charge eventually got dropped. It was pretty much in a private parking lot.
Okay. Those charges were still pending when you got arrested for this vehicular homicide, though, wasn't it? So
Yes,
we can
sir.
discuss all day why you didn't get prosecuted for that. Let's talk about the vehicular homicide. What were you drinking on that particular night?
Tequila.
Had you ever had any sort of treatment whatsoever for alcohol or drugs before that night?
No, sir.
How much tequila had you been drinking?
It was during the day. It was at a Mardi Gras parade. I honestly don't remember. You know, I remember drinking the tequila, but as far as an amount, I couldn't tell you.
Were you drinking like that every day?
Not during the day. I was still working and everything, but at night I would drink a lot at night.
Do you consider yourself to be an alcoholic?
Yes, sir.
So
Absolutely.
tell me the kind of treatment that you've undergone. You went to prison, when was that, in 2016?
Correct.
While you were in prison, you pled guilty. You were given a 12-year sentence, 5 of which, all but 5 were suspended. So you went to prison for the equivalent of 5 years. You paroled out, but you went to prison for the equivalent of 5 years. What programs did you take while you were in there?
I took reentry, which involves kite program. That's a substance abuse.
Okay. And what did you learn?
As far as My main thing I learned was one is too many. I would fool myself for a long time and say, I'm not gonna drink this much. I can handle it. I can just drink a couple. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Obviously, some people can do that, drink a couple and put it down. But as far as myself, 9 times out of 10 is gonna progress to something bad.
When did you get released on parole?
2018,
When in 2018?
October 8th, I believe.
You got released?
Excuse me, October 8th, 2017.
Okay. So you had been out for about a year before you got arrested for these new charges.
Correct.
Were you going to AA meetings? Were you doing anything then?
Yes, sir. I got out on parole and probation.
Correct.
Part of my probation was to go to AA meetings and as well as go speak in front of a group every Saturday.
Did you do those things?
Yes, sir.
So what happened? What is it, how is it that you got arrested for possession of Schedule II drugs, possession of a firearm, illegal carrying of a weapon with a controlled dangerous substance, possession with intent to distribute Schedule III, drug paraphernalia, and possession with intent to distribute Schedule I?
Yes, sir. I mean,
You killed a lady and severely injured 2 other people. Your car that you were driving hit her car, which caused it to hit another car and to explode and killed her and injured her 2 daughters. You ran a .20 BAC, which is 3 times the normal limit for drunk. You went to prison, you took some programs, you come back out, and you get charged and plead guilty to you get charged with all of these offenses.
yes, sir.
So tell me, why should I vote to let you out? I know you're going to federal prison, but why should I vote to let you out, to parole you?
I understand everything you're saying, sir. My main thing is just I wanted to get to federal prison, and from what I understand, there's a lot of vocational classes and just better education and rehabilitation programs in general over here.
Well, what happened while you were on probation and parole for a year? I mean, you obviously didn't straighten out.
No, sir.
You had all kinds of drugs,
Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely.
guns.
I
You were
definitely,
back drinking.
not drinking, but I was doing drugs. Yes, sir.
You had a scram bracelet on you too, huh?
Correct.
They could detect the alcohol, but maybe not the drugs.
That's correct.
So you were sharp enough to realize you couldn't drink. You had to start back on something else.
Yes, sir.
So how has that changed as you sit here today? I understand you want some programs, and I appreciate that. How has that changed today?
Unfortunately, I told myself for a while I was ready to change, but I wasn't. I got out for a while and did all right. And eventually I went back to it. I never intended, obviously, for things to play out like they did. But I pray that this time I really changed and I really can stay away from it. I have,
Mr. Chapman, you have law enforcement opposition. You have victim family opposition. I don't know what happened back in 2016 when you pled guilty, but I'm here to tell you, as a longtime experienced person in the criminal justice system, that sentence that you received, 5 years, all but 5 years suspended on the crime, the horrible crime that you committed, was a very, very light sentence.
Yes, sir.
And I suspect that the victim's family consented to that. And then you turn around, get out, and go back to doing the same thing. So what programs did you take that didn't work? I mean, what's the next step? Where do you go from here?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say the programs didn't work. I don't think I took the opportunity. I don't think I really took them serious enough and got what I needed to get out of them.
So you're asking me to parole you so you can go to a less restrictive environment in federal prison, because most everybody thinks federal prison is a lot better than state prison. So that's basically what you're asking me to do. Don't require me to do that sentence that I was required to do when I was drunk behind the wheel and killed that lady. Why should I do that?
I'm not trying to get out the sentence. I didn't look at it like that. I mean, my outdate's not going to change either way.
Have you tried to get into any programs while you've been in prison this time?
Yes, sir.
What have you tried to get into?
I'm in substance abuse, and tomorrow's the last day, actually.
So what have you learned while you've been in that substance abuse program?
We talk about all the signs as far as just certain things, negative emotional states, isolation, not having an adequate support group, different things that basically say it's not necessarily the drugs and alcohol. That's just hard. That's the solution, but there's deeper problems, obviously, for why people do use drugs and alcohol. Like I said, usually that's just, that's their solution, but the problems are a lot deep seated than that.
How far did you go in school?
I graduated high school.
Okay. What kind of work were you doing?
Plumbing work.
You're a plumber?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long you been a plumber?
For a while, my uncle had a construction business. So at 13, 14, I was, going to help him out.
So you've been working in the plumbing field for a long time. That's very good. That's a very good profession.
Yes, sir.
You can do very well in that field. Is that something that you hope to continue to do?
It's definitely good knowing that it's always there, that I have that. And 9 times out of 10 I can just go get a job. It's a blessing.
Mr. Chapman, you're a very young man. You've got a lot of years left to you. I hope that you get the programming that you need. I think it's significant that you realize, and I think you do now, that you're an alcoholic and probably a drug addict.
Oh,
and need some treatment and to be able to stay on top of that. Do you have children?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Those are the only questions I have.
Hey, Mr. Wise.
I have no questions. Mr. Marabella did an excellent job. Thank you.
All right. Would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
No, sir. I mean, obviously, I felt like I had a good conversation. Anything I could have said, already came out in the conversation.
All right. Panel prepared to vote?
Yes.
Marabella?
Mr. Chapman, it's not my role to try to make you feel bad, and I may have in some of my questions, but this is serious business. I mean, what the crime you committed and your disease has caused a death, and it's caused a lot of grief on behalf of their family. They are certainly opposed to your release. You had a moderate risk factor to reoffend, and you're an alcoholic and probably a drug addict. But it sounds like you're a young man with some sense who has maybe got himself on the right track. And I think that's important and that's critical. And you're right, there always are underlying factors as to why people use drugs and use alcohol. Many of us are addicted to drugs because of some chemical balance in our bodies or alcohol. Others do it just to escape reality. I'm not sure exactly what the problem is with you. You seem to recognize that. Now it's time for you to get some treatment to be able to deal with those things. And I certainly hope that you can do that. We have excellent programs within the Department of Corrections. I don't know what the feds have, but I know what we have. And I'm going to encourage you to try to get into some of those really good programs to help you. My vote today is going to be to deny you, but I hope that you continue on your path that you look like you now are charting to get some treatment and to get some help. So good luck to you, sir.
Thank you.
Was.
Sir, when I was reading your case material and I got down to that part where you wrote that you want to get to the federal prison because of the benefits, and that's a true addict. He wants what's best for him, and that's and you're not afraid to ask for it. But that's the heart of a true addict. So my vote is to deny for the reasons already been stated on the record.
You have 2 votes to deny your parole. Again, you're working hard. You're saying the right things. I think you're turning the corner. It's now it's left up to you to figure out what your triggers are, figure out getting some good classes and do what you need to do. But because of moderate Tiger score, law enforcement opposition, victim opposition, I vote to deny as well today. 3 votes to deny. Your parole's been denied. It's 11-12. We'll adjourn at Riverbend. Thank you.
Here it is. Here's another case where he took a life. A judge gives him 5-year sentence. 5 years. And within a year of getting out, he is caught up again. And again, I heard no remorse in that entire parole hearing. 0. He took a life. And, before Mr. Marabella shot out the facts of the case, I was kind of like, I didn't feel negativity towards him. I thought he was being very factual, very concise. He wasn't BSing anything. I thought it was a pretty decent interview. But then when you get down to the facts of what it is that he did, and that even his final statement wasn't like, it just didn't seem like there's anything there. Like, it's just very matter of fact. And I just don't understand that. But who's to blame? It's the system. That was when he got into this, when he drove his Camaro 100 miles an hour, way over the limit, and slammed into a car and killed, or as this article says, roasted Carol alive. That was 6 months after having a DUI. And even after that, having that record, February 2017, 2015, the defendant was operating a motor vehicle under the influence, traveling in excess of 100 miles per hour when he struck Carol Richards' vehicle, causing a fire and explosion. The vehicle then collided with another vehicle occupied by Karen, Christina, and Cynthia, causing injuries. He was Sentenced November 3rd, 2016 by Judge David Smith, the defendant faced up to 30 years, but he got just 5. And Mr. Mirabella said, I suspect that it was a deal that the family agreed to. And I got to tell you, I don't have that kind of faith in the system. I don't suspect that the family agreed to it. The case was prosecuted by First Assistant DA Daniel M. Landry III and was investigated by the Lafayette Police Department. Five years. It's hard to understand that. It's like, why? Oh man. Now I know a 12-year sentence, but he only had to serve 5. And even with that laying over, it just shows like this guy, he even with it's like you're just at a loss for words. Really, I can't even. And it's not like it's not like he got a DUI 6 months prior. You know, if that doesn't wake you up. During the emotional court hearing, the 15th Judicial District Judge David Smith heard testimony from 7 of Richard's close friends. That's the victim. Family members who, through tears, described the late, longtime Lafayette Parish School System employee as a beloved woman, an artist, and a giving soul. It's always the good ones that go. The woman who drove the 3rd car in the accident also testified, and she requested restitution to be paid. Good luck getting that. Chapman's parents also took the stand and testified their son had maintained sobriety since the crash. And described him as a caring brother to his special needs sister. They also took the stand and apologized. Well, they didn't show up at his parole hearing. And it was his 2nd DWI in 6 months, dude. Why would a judge think he needs leniency? It's not. It's crazy. 23-year-old Bryce Chapman of Lafayette was arrested and booked into Lafayette Parish Jail on charges of operating while intoxicated. 2nd offense, 1st-degree negligent injury, 2 counts, vehicular negligent injury, and vehicular homicide. And then how he was caught in the next. And thank you, Richard, for providing the information here. So he does the 5 years, and then when he's 28, so it's really, again, less than a year after getting released, he was sentenced to 72 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release for possession of a firearm and ammunition. On November 18th, the police officers responded to a report of 2 men unconscious in a car at a local gas station. Chapman was identified as the driver and was arrested after officers found him in possession of a .38 Special. That's, a revolver. Bryce Chapman has a prior felony conviction of court vehicular homicide. So you can't make it up. Less than a year, he's so messed up on. He passes out in a car as the driver because he's high. He has a weapon. Meanwhile, the guy's got skills. He's a plumber. He literally, he even said, he can get a job 9 times out of 10. He can make good money. And he gets behind the wheel. And, it just goes to show, I guess, he on the release, they did try to, he had to wear a scram bracelet. He had to, all of these restrictions that they put into place. And it just goes to show he found a way to get around it. And the one thing where, of course, he wasn't being honest about was he wants to go to federal prison to start for better programs or whatever. But I mean, really, let's just be real. He wants to go there because he wants to start working on that time. He wants to work on that time so he can go home. It's not clear to me how much his federal time is, how much. So like, but yeah, he's, can you imagine that one day he will be free eventually? It's not clear to me the date when that's going to happen, but at least we are safe right now. But this hearing took place in 2021, and as far as I know, he's still locked up in Louisiana. But yeah, there are certain people that just can't be free because they're just a danger to everyone else, and we can't. What are you gonna say? With that, I'll let you go.
Carlos Gomez, 552374.
Hey, Carlos, again, you heard the introduction. We'll have a parole interview. Ask you some questions. You can respond at the end. You can make a statement. We'll take a vote. You understand the process?
Yes.
Carlos Gomez, DOC number 552374. You're a second class offender. Parole eligibility date 9/25/2021. Good time date 5/27/2022. Full term date 3/24/2029. You have a 10-year sentence. Operating vehicle while intoxicated, fourth offense. That sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please answer, Mr. Tony Marabella.
Good afternoon, Mr. Gomez. How are you?
Good.
Mr. Gomez, how long have you been in prison?
2 years.
2 years. Tell me a little bit about your drinking. How long have you been drinking?
I started drinking when I was 22.
And what do you drink?
Just beers.
Well, do you think you have a drinking problem?
Yes, sir. That's why I'm here.
Tell me about, well, okay, tell me about what's the problem? Tell me how you understand your problem.
Well, I don't drink like daily, but I drink once every 3 months. But like when I drink, and that's it.
You consider yourself to be an alcoholic?
Yes, sir.
When was the last time you had anything to drink?
About 3 years ago.
All right. Now, you're in jail on a charge that happened in 2010. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Where were you and you were sentenced in 2020. Why is there a 10-year lapse?
Oh, because I didn't show it to court. I didn't.
All right. So tell me about that. Why you got arrested on July the 25th of 2010.
Yes,
I
sir.
assume you got put in jail. Fourth offense DWI. I guess your bond was pretty high. What was your bond?
I had no bond.
So you didn't get arrested?
Yeah, I did get arrested, but they released me the next day.
How? You didn't have to bond out?
Nope, I signed out.
You had a sign out bond.
Yeah.
And then where did you go after that? Why is it they couldn't find you for 10 years?
Went out of the country.
Ah, okay. So how did they find you?
I came back to face it.
And when did you come back to face it?
That was March 2019, I think. No, yeah.
And how did you get arrested? Did you turn yourself in or did they find you somewhere?
I was on my way. They was waiting for me at the airport. I was on my way. See, I was out of the country.
I understand.
And I took a flight to Houston. And to Houston, I was going to New Orleans. but they was waiting for me at the Houston airport already.
Why were they waiting for you at Houston Airport?
No, I don't know.
So you didn't call them and say, hey, guys, I'm coming in. Meet me at the Houston Airport. They just happened to intercept the fact that you were on that flight.
Yes, sir.
Ah, okay. So you really didn't turn yourself in. You got caught.
No, because I was
No?
gonna come to
No,
New
no,
York.
I understand. You were going to turn yourself in, and that's admirable. But you got caught before you could turn yourself in.
Yes, sir.
Ah, I hear you. Okay. Now, this DWI, your fourth DWI occurred in 2010, and yet you were still drinking up until at least 3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had any drug or alcohol treatment?
No.
Why not?
The only places I've been is like NA and AA meeting.
Okay. Now, you have had at least 3 DWIs before. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, the law requires, as a condition of your being put on probation, did you go to jail for 6 months on each one of them, or were you put on probation?
I was on probation.
Okay. The law requires when you're on probation, you have to get a substance abuse evaluation and follow all treatment. Did you do that on all of your DWIs?
Yes, sir.
And what treatment did they recommend?
I went to the I think it's the 21
28-day program?
yes, I went there and I had like AA meetings
Okay.
and
But you went back to drinking, obviously. That
Yes.
didn't work.
nope.
Well, what is it going to take to stop you from drinking? I mean, obviously, you may not be drinking now because you're in prison, but short of prison, how are we going to be able to stop you from drinking, getting behind the wheel, and maybe killing somebody?
Well, right now I'm being incarcerated got me like thinking a lot, and I'm older, and
I agree with all of those things.
you know
How are you going to stop drinking?
keep going to the treatment like NA meeting because that helped me when I was out there
You did that before and it didn't work. You went right back to drinking.
because I
What
stopped.
causes you to drink?
Um, I really don't know.
Okay. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate your honesty. And that's why it's critical that you get some good long-term treatment to be able to help you answer those questions. So when you get out, you'll be able to stay out. I appreciate your honesty. Thank you, Mr. Gomez.
Well,
Ms. Wise?
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Gomez, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
no.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Now prepared to vote, Mr. Marabella?
Mr. Gomez, it looks like you're going to be getting out in the next 4, 5, 6 months. I hope that you're able to take advantage of any programs that you might be able to get. I hope you do follow up with AA meetings. I hope you get a sponsor. I hope you get into some programs. Once you're released, it's critical that you do that because unless you quit drinking, unless you get some treatment to understand why you drink and what you can do to make sure you don't drink, you're going to continue to get DWIs, and one of these days, you're going to kill somebody, and then you won't get out of prison. So good luck to you. My vote today would be to deny, but certainly to encourage you to get some treatment.
All right, Ms. Wise?
Yes, sir. I hate to interrupt the voting process, but we didn't hear from the institution. Is there anything they want to say?
I'm just getting in here. I'm running late.
Okay, okay.
Hold on a minute. He's been with me since December 20, and he's had no write-up since he's been here. He's presently a trustee. He works at the Department of Agriculture on on Florida Boulevard. That's where he works at.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Yeah, okay, good. At this time, I just continue the voting process. I concur with my colleague. My vote is to deny for the reasons already stated on the record. Law enforcement opposition, you have a moderate law, and you need more programs. You could benefit from more programs, sir. Good luck to you, though.
All right, 2 votes to deny your parole. Also, I'm going to vote to deny your parole today for same reasons as stated. Law enforcement opposition, need more programs. 3 votes to deny your parole's been denied. Hey, good seeing you, Ward Booty. We
Good seeing you, sir.
Ron, good seeing you.
You in and out, man. We 220. We adjourning. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. 4th offense DUI, and he gets to bond out on a self-reconnaissance bond. You can't make this stuff up. These hearings happen on the same day. We see, what do we see? We see people who are taking lives and getting 5-year sentences. We see people who are, well, they get 25 years but have the opportunity for parole after a few. We see a system that doesn't protect its constituency. I just don't understand it. How can you get a 4th DUI and have a self-reconnaissance bond so he can just get back out on the road and drive again? He flees the country. He comes back. Good for law enforcement. You got to feel for law enforcement. This is, watching these things, it's a whole new angle for me in the appreciation, and must be so frustrating for law enforcement that does their job only to have the DAs and the judges negate all their hard work. He comes back, they lock him up, and a 10-year sentence, but he's getting out after serving less than 3 years. And he's done nothing in prison. That was just an interview where all I saw was animosity, ego, lying. Yeah, he flew in to turn himself in. Sure you did. Whew. And he's out, man. What's going to happen when he gets in a car and takes a life? Who are we going to blame, him or the system? It should be the system. How is it possible? What is going to happen when he gets out? He's going to get in his car and he's going to drink and he's going to drive. That's terrifying. People need to see this. They need to understand that our system is broken. And then when the person does take someone's life, you don't want the DA to come in and make some statement. We're locking him up for 25 years. Don't tell anyone. He gets parole after just 3. Man, there's no documentation on this to talk about. But again, it's, so he's going to be backing, I guess, about 7 years. So if he does violate, he'll have to get locked back up. I'm not aware of him violating, and it's been since 2021. Maybe he left the country again. But if he does, we'll see his parole revocation hearing. I don't know what it is. It's technically good time. But hopefully we don't read about him because, it's not going to be good. But thank you for being here. And with that, I'll let you go.